I really liked this movie. It wasn't the best, but I really enjoyed it. It's better than most werewolf movies. So now I have at least 4 werewolf movies that are, at least decent. But there's a lot I don't like about this movie, too. It has a decently, simple plot, but then they kind of carry it away with something. And then that same something that they add to make it not as simple, they get rid of pretty fast in, not too far in. Um the plot is this guy has hunted like everything. He's a great hunter. He's gotten every animal there is, and he believes in werewolves. So he decides he wants to hunt a werewolf. So he puts a group of rich people all together that he thinks are, werewolves. Only 2 of them were, way too obvious that they're trying to make you think they're the werewolf. Like, there's this guy, Paul, who is technically a cannibal because he tried human flesh once, and his explanation is basically why not. And then there's this girl, Caroline, who had a party and one of the guests ended up half eaten. So it's obviously not them, because that is just, way too obvious. But they end up doing somebody that I honestly should have guessed. Soon as he tells everybody what his plan is, everybody obviously thinks he's crazy and he's not serious or he's joking or whatever. It's pretty clear soon that he's not. But the person that turns out to be the werewolf is the person that tries to leave first. He tries to drive away, and he's the one that ends up being the werewolf. Should have been obvious. But the actual werewolf in this movie sucks. Since it's an older movie, that's the werewolf. It's really just a dog that kinda looks like a werewolf. When I first saw it, it's when Pavel dies, and here's the part that I almost forgot to mention. The part that's not simple is that this guy's rich, so he has this guy Pavel that he hired to, make sure all the guests stay in the house and blah blah blah. His camera set up everywhere. Pavel's the first one to die, and the cameras get destroyed with it, like the surveillance thing, not the actual cameras. But during his death scene, he looks up to the roof, and then the roof has the werewolf on it, but it just looks like a dog that's just sitting there. And then he just starts shooting. And I was like, what? No, don't shoot the dog. Is he confused or something? But then he dies, so I was like, oh shit, that's supposed to be the werewolf. And he dies saying that he doesn't believe in werewolves. But yeah, that's clearly a dog. Anyways, so they do have this thing that ends up being BS, like his wife turns into a werewolf. But it's very over complicated. They actually have this point in the movie that I thought was really cool, though, that I'm going to mention. And that's before they're going to reveal who the werewolf is. They have this little clock on the screen, and it gives you 30 seconds. Since it's an older movie, it's not like something you could have played on DVD, like Batman Death in the Family, and you can make your own decisions and stuff like that. So yeah. Anyways, one of their dog gets killed by the werewolf. It like bites it and stuff. And earlier in the movie, his wife got a cut because she got mad and threw a plate or something. And she just never bandaged the wound. So when she's holding the dog, she gets like werewolf stuff on her or whatever into her wound. because apparently the dog was infected. And then that's how she becomes a werewolf. They try and make you think she's the werewolf, which I honestly shouldn't have believed, but I did. Because I completely forgot she was there during the werewolf fighting the dog. But yeah, they try and convince you she's a werewolf. So if I would have paid attention a bit more, or just, remembered she was there when the werewolf attacked the dog, then I would have realized she's not the werewolf. But she does turn into a werewolf because she holds this silver thing and they realize, oh shit, she's the werewolf. Then he kills her. And then he slowly realizes, just like I did, that she was there with the werewolf. And he is like, I have to believe my own eyes, don't I? And he's like, well, obviously, the one that originally bit her is still here. And then he's like, well, she never got bit. So then the doctor explains how it happened, which I already explained how the movie made her, turn into a werewolf. But they actually have 3 pointless scenes throughout the movie where they make them hold this silver candle thing or whatever, which ends up not mattering because they say it's like not powerful enough or something like that. So in the end of the day, it's just pointless. But yeah, Paul dies not too long after. I could care less. The man ate human flesh. Then we find out that the guy that tried to leave in the first place was the werewolf all along, and we have one final showdown with that thing. And he gets bitten in the process, and the movie ends with them realizing that he has to kill himself because there is no cure. And the movie ends with him shooting himself with his own rifle. The hunter is now dead. But overall, it was a decent movie, even though the costume was horrible. I did like the mystery and stuff. Most of the deaths, sadly, were either off-screen or heavily censored. But it is a 70s movie, so what can you do? But overall, it's still a better movie than most werewolf movies today. But the movie takes place within 3 days, because apparently they're going to have a full moon 3 days in a row. But yeah, Pavel just dies, and he's only mentioned one more time in a kind of hinted at way. When he's with the pilot, they're like, oh, we're not going to be guided to where the werewolf is, since, he had the surveillance and stuff. Though for some reason the surveillance doesn't work on the werewolf. It's dumb. But anyway, he's like, yeah, we're going to have to do this on our own, since, Pavel died earlier in the movie. But then that's the only time he's mentioned, since it's kind of a secret he was there watching them. Even though I'm pretty sure he outright says they're being watched at one point. At the same time, he's trying to hide it. But then whenever Paul sees some cameras, he doesn't even try and hide it. And he's like, yep, I knew those were there. And makes a joke about how it took him a while to grow those cameras there. Since Paul said, well, I didn't think those were just growing out of the trees. But yeah, overall, I do think it's a decent movie. I just really did not like the werewolf costume. It was not believable enough. But yeah, I guess that's about it.